acres in what should be a small rural community. I'd also like to ask that we look at what's happening with the Ohio EPA right now. They're looking at passing a bill that, excuse me, that allows data centers to dump blowback water and wastewater directly into freshwater rivers and lakes. I just submitted a public comment on it this morning. So even if we do regulations against data centers or put these things in our master plans, it's possible that they just are deregulated later with the EPA or higher government. And I think it's very important that we just say no very firmly and update our master plan accordingly so that we have a very tight, airlocked, absolutely no data centers in Dundee. Thank you so much for your time.
Good afternoon. I'm Joseph Ashley. I live on Dundee Boulevard. Master plan is here to set standards and ordinances for growth and development within our community. It is the place to preserve wetlands, flood areas, and natural habitats. One of the biggest things that master plan do is provide a framework to protect the rural areas, such as all the agriculture land that the citizens of Dundee has fought to maintain for years. The master plan was updated in 2012 and 2019 without any major updates. It was basically just adopted as it was in 2012. We had a company review it in 2019 and were too cheap to pay for a professional company to update the master plan with the growing economy and population. In May 2024, we had another company look at the master plan to review it. There was two pages listed of items that needed updated or fixed to be in compliance with the Michigan Planning and Enabling Act. Once again, you chose not to pay the company to update the master plan. Remember, these companies that review and update master plans and ordinances are professionals, not an appointed person with no educational background in these fields. You can't even have the maps updated that are over 13 years old and are not accurate with the zoning. And even more recent, the situation with the master plan and how it was fast-tracked and approved. This is a disgrace to the citizens in the Dundee Township on how you tried to slide the master plan approval under the rug and once again violating the due process, which seems to be a very common issue with the Planning Commission and Board. Now let's talk about how, in the 2012 to current, clearly states that the property Holcomb owned should be reverted back to agriculture once the cement factory closed. It closed in 2009 and was never reverted back. Once again, violating our due process. What about when the 68 acres of Holcomb property that was rezoned from agriculture to light industrial in 2000, just north of Dundee Boulevard in Ann Arbor? It was rezoned less than a month and a half, which is unheard of. It usually takes months to rezone, and once again, our due process was violated as was no public notice by the board, and there was no meeting allowing citizens to make comment before it was voted on. There was also never a notice mailed to residents as they were within the 300 feet of this rezoning, as it was originally proposed to the township. On October 4th, the Planning Commission said they published the rezoning, and October 10th, the board approved the rezoning. There was no 15-day grace period. I foiled the public notices for all the master plans and rezoning of Holcomb property and was provided no public notices. With that said, there was a most common issue here, and that is the continue to violate the due process in regard to ordinance, master plans, and rezoning. Art has been on the Planning Commission for over 25 years, and I point the finger at him for his incompetence, which has created a disaster for the community. Having weak ordinances, inaccurate data, inaccurate maps creates loopholes for companies such as Cloverleaf to come to these small towns and do as they want.
3 minutes? You're 3 minutes, sorry. Thank you very much. Next up.
Hi, my name's Lloyd Gray, and I have outlined some things for, I don't know if we have an ordinance or anything as far as a proposed ordinance. I have things that I have planned out. Anyways, for noise, light pollution, building height and screening, setbacks, industrial overlay, water, no wells of any kind, how much do they require? They say one thing and then another thing happens. Oh, we don't need this, we just need it for for, you know, showers and things of that nature. They're very good at, switching bait when they talk to you, air admission standards, traffic. There'll be tons of traffic descending on Dundee once this data center starts. Roads, they should pay or put something in a fund to help repair the roads after they destroy them with all their construction if they do come here. Power, DTE, small, some of them are talking small nuclear reactors for self-sustaining power. Land use, is it special or is it a conditional use permits? No foreign end users, only American, period. If we're gonna have a data center, we don't want any foreign. There are United Kingdom ones being funded in Lansing, I've read about. Generator usage, emergency use only, fuel for the generators, how would that be contained? Generator noise mitigation, other materials, there are materials out there that can knock down noise. There'll be at least 15 to 28 generators for the project they propose. Within reason, they can have solar on their roofs to help them. Pond retention for the drawdown for the closed loop system. They use forever chemicals, which is PFAS, in their lines to cool. And that's a contaminant. And is that how are we gonna regulate that, or is there a regulation for that to keep contamination out of the aquifer? Security and fire department. In Ohio, they wait an hour after they're called because they have to get security clearance to get into the data center. And they could be missing calls in the community, which other community members will have to pick up. Agriculture ground. For every agriculture ground they use, they must save it someplace else in the township. And if we don't save some of our tillable ground to grow food, you will be under big companies' control. And it's just as simple as what we're seeing in the United States right now, and it doesn't look good in the way they are building these data centers on every corner. Decommissioning and restoration of the site. Money should be held in case they go belly up or bankrupt, that it can be cleaned up and then reused for some other industrial complex. Who will inspect the site to make the end user do what is set in place?
So 3 minutes.
That's fine.
Thank you very much.
I'll give you what's on the rest of the back.
Anybody else?
Emily Graham, I'm from Dundee, what's your number? I'm just gonna be quick about this, but I have been attending all the meetings since September, and I'm going to kind of reiterate what we talked to the township board about. There's many citizens that, and it's been brought up tonight before, there's many citizens that are against having any data center. So from the public's and a lot of the people that have been talking to me, and we want to make sure that it's clear that every citizen that we've talked to, most citizens do not want a data center at all in Dundee, right? We don't want, I mean, there's so many different things that needs to be done, and they've talked about all the ordinances and all the things we need to do in order to protect us. We need to protect the water, the air, the noise, the lights, I could go on and on. But anyway, for you guys, what we're asking as the public is we want transparency. We want to see the notes online. We want to see everything. And I know we've been getting a lot of Freedom Information Act because we have someone that's doing that for us. We found a lot of information that makes a lot of people worried. So I'm going to just say, we want more meetings. There's not been a planning commission meeting. There was only 3 last year for this town, or this village and township. That seems odd, especially when the master plan is so old. So I'm just gonna say from, what we're expecting is transparency, meetings, public hearings. We wanna know everything that's going on. Like they mentioned having a citizens committee, which would be great. But that's kind of where my piece is. A lot of us are watching what's happening, and canceling meetings and confusing people is not helpful. So that's all. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Nancy Vanderbilt. I'd like to kind of go over what Michaela said as far as the creating a citizens advisory advisory group, just to, a bunch of citizens to help you guys, what we're going through now. I know we have to do the master plan of it, and we have some work on the ordinance. But I'd like to reiterate that that would be something that we could help you with, and we could actually direct what information you need or what help you need.
And this committee would be someone that would be appointed, just like you guys are appointed. Right? So it would be just a bunch of us grabbing around and causing trouble. This request is based on documented process errors and capacity gaps that have already occurred. I'm not going to go through all that, but under Michigan law, the master plan is the foundation for zoning and land use decisions. And when that process is flawed, every decision built on it can be challenged, which is an issue that we have nothing in the master plan right now that verbalizes, defines a data center, defines a solar farm, defines CO2 excursion laws, defines any of the things that are happening around us today. I like the master plan just as it is, because it's a truer, simpler life, the date of that master plan. I like that the future and the present map still shows that land as agricultural. That's wonderful. Let's keep it that way, forever and ever. Amen. But that's not the life we're living in. We're not living in that world anymore. So we need information, we need things in our, I don't know if we need to go to a light industrial and heavy industrial and decide, which group goes in what. But that's how we use people. I want you to just look at what's coming at us, and talk about it openly in front of us, and we decide on this ordinance, or if you decide on this ordinance, maybe we'll decide this an ordinance that states that we don't accept the ordinance. That's approvable too. But let us be part of this, let us listen in on your conversations and how you make your decisions.
Anybody else? Nope. Okay. Thank you very much. Into scheduled business, we have building permits. Mr. Kolar.
In front of you, I got the copies of the building permits for the year from January 1st till today. And then also a copy of the building permit that were issued by the township for the whole year. From January 1.
Okay. Comments, questions on the permits? All right. No, okay. Okay, on to the meeting calendar for 2026. The third Wednesday,
Yeah.
10 o'clock. Is there, what was there gonna be, you said there's gonna be one, Ash Wednesday?
Knock it back.
Want to change that then?
When we were,
That could affect a lot of people.
we do the second Wednesday and be done with it.
Would we do that?
I'll let them know you use them.
Everything else is all right?
Starting the second Wednesday, 7.
February.
The second Wednesday is supposed to be third. Yeah. For February.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any old business?
Not anymore.
Okay, under new business, anybody, I have nothing to say, but anybody have a new business?
No.
All right, very obvious what's going on. Make a quick explanation here as to why we don't have it on the calendar tonight, the data center. We're waiting for materials to come through from our professional planner and materials to come through from the township board. We've not received either one of those yet. So what we wanted to do is get that information in the hands of the board members so that they can look at that. And obviously we will have a very robust discussion at our next meeting. That will be January
20th?
Jack, is that the third Wednesday? Yeah, obviously it definitely will be on agenda. Just a couple comments. 21st, is it? All right, the third Wednesday. Couple comments on the interest on the data center. We've been just talking with other people, with other municipalities, as I think quite a few of you have, and that's a good thing. We're looking at this, and the people that say shoot down the data or say no data center, you need to know that's a non-starter. That is not, we cannot do that legally. Look at Celine, what's going on there. It's just not, it's not an option. I don't, if somehow you could get that through, I'd like to know how that's going to happen. We're going to get sued, and then it's going to happen anyway. We have a couple other considerations. I don't think Cloverleaf, they've indicated that they are not going to do that. They will go away. But of course, we're on the map, we're on the radar now. So there's going to be others coming in. And that certainly doesn't mean that the end user, the tech giants, whatever, that they're going to let that go. Certainly doesn't mean that the property owners now are just going to say, well, yeah, if you was, I only paid 10 times the value of the property, Fred, I'll just go back and start farming it. I don't think that's going to happen. So one of the most refreshing things that I personally heard tonight was from Michaela, as far as putting our group together and working with us on this thing. I think our best option is going to be to make the strongest ordinance possible to protect the people here, because it's not going, obviously could be wrong, but I think we're going to get sued. We're going to have it, and it's much better to have protections, as she's stating. A couple other people mentioned it too. We're looking for your help. We really are. We're not just automatically going to run this through, but we have been charged with setting up an amendment to make this as strong as possible to get what we want out of them. I'm not going to get into arguing some of the things you heard. There's some misinformation here, but that will come out during our discussion down the road with the things we find. If you folks find something and it is a viable piece of information that we can use, we really would appreciate seeing that. Any connections, any links to anything, but please vet some of these things. I've looked at some of these things, and you look at that, and we got an expert that tells us this. Well, I can go right on the same area and look it up, and there's an expert that says just the opposite. Now that doesn't help us out a bit. We need to find something that says, here's an expert, and here's the evidence that he used, here's she, and then we can back this up. This is the kind of stuff we need, and we really would appreciate the help from all of you to do that. We can't see all these things, but it needs to be more than just saying, check this link out. That is a very easy thing to say. We would like to see what your analysis is of it. Did you look into it? Did you vet that link? Did you go down the rabbit hole to see if that is a real person? And have they done things before? Just because right off the bat it says what you want to hear, that doesn't make it good, and that doesn't make it useful for us to help work this amendment out. And I keep saying that we're going to have to do this amendment. We're going to have to put it in ordinance. It is the only protection that I can see that we have on this. They're going to come, and I don't want to be the fatalist here, but that's just simply a fact. As governor, maybe you can shoot him out, but I doubt that too. I'm sorry, sir. You just don't. It's not going to happen. They're here to stay. As a matter of fact, we've had data centers since the late '60s. Now, of course, they're not the hyper mega data centers we have now, and that's what's creating some of the problem or potential problems. And there are a number of pieces of bad information out there. And like I say, once again, we'll get into that as we go on down the line. I'm not going to get going on that tonight, but because I intend to look for more information, and I intend to ask you to help us get that information. So give us other places to look, but once again, you need to help us out by vetting this information. Just don't send us a pile of crap. I'm sorry to say it that way, but this guy says it's terrible.
Vice versa.
That means nothing. Why is it terrible? What research have they done? What has actually happened? Okay, then that is useful information for us and something we can work on, and we can come up with a viable amendment for it. Okay, and then I just want to real quick too. We had somebody say, we need to be responsible to the families that built this town. Well, okay, let me tell you something. We got I've been here 69 years. I've been on board since '86. So I've been around. We have Mr. Sedley here, who's been in the area almost longer. He was here working on the town. He has a job here. He's been on this board forever. We have a multi-generational, it's host here. The family's been in town that long. We have Ed Proctor here, who's been farming since God was a kid. He's very attuned to the agricultural. He's been here. He represents the township well. Mrs. Reese on the end, her multi-generational family in Dundee. Her father was on this board. Her uncle was working. His grandpa helped start zoning in Dundee. So I just want you to know that you're talking to lifelong residents here. We don't want to screw this up. We want to make it as good as possible for everyone here. And I still can see there are benefits to having it there. There is money there to be had. And I've checked other areas that have data centers, where the mega centers have not moved. They just started about 10 years ago. So obviously that's not a lot of data to work on, data. But it does indicate that there are some good things to be had, as long as we can control the bad things that we don't want. So once again, I really appreciate your participation here. I guess we got a date for the next, 3, 4, 5 months or something at our meetings, and we'll be glad to see you, as a matter of fact. And we'd be glad to take the information that you can give us that we can actually use to hang our hats on. So with that, thank you very much for coming tonight.
Everybody can file an amendment to have these guys removed, just so you know. Yeah, I think it's time.
Well, these guys are appointed.
Well, you know what? You guys voted. You guys voted for this. You know what? I heard enough from you.